So I guess they will try their best to put the whole thing in order. So the video can be delivered as early as possible.
Okay.
So thank you, sir.
So how about the lesson? I mean, so yeah, that means you're a front-end developer or just only CSS you do or what?
No, I do both. I'm also good in backend.
Okay, you do backend as well.
Yes, sir.
But we'll first of all do front-end before then.
Yes, I
said
do.
we'll finish the front-end before. We're going to, for us, I say we're going to finish front-end before. If you want to continue backend, maybe that one will be later now.
Sure, yes, you need to complete the front end before the back end. So
back end and front end, which one takes time? I mean, front end, okay, it's like front end takes more time, I mean.
No, back end, back end will take more time than front end. Why? Because it's more logical. So with back end, we are not actually going to be dealing with any design, like much design like that. We can have basic design, but it's not going to be much like that. So we want to focus more on logic.
Okay, backend is more on logic.
Yes, it's more on logic because it focuses majorly on data storing, like data and functionalities.
Hey, but can't one do all those things in front end? How about JavaScript is not data also. It doesn't use data.
No, JavaScript does not use data. JavaScript is part of front end, basically.
Okay, how about React?
React, yes, React is built on JavaScript.
Okay, what of Next.js? Out of Next?
Next.js, yes, Next.js, right, is just like a normal JavaScript. So all of those things run on the front end. It's only Node.js that runs on back end.
Okay.
So on Node, so you're able to transfer data with the help of Express.js, that is with Node.
Okay.
So,
but those ones will need framework or what? Or I don't know.
Sir?
See, when you require framework or object-oriented programming, where do this in object-oriented programming come in?
Object-oriented programming comes in different languages. So we have it in JavaScript, we have it in PHP, we have it in Python. So object-oriented programming, the concept OOP is just a principle. It's never a language.
Okay, and beside PHP, apart from PHP, is there any, apart from, what's the other alternative to PHP?
PHP, yes, alternative to PHP is Node.js. You can use Java, you can also use Python. But when you are using Python, for example, so you need a framework. You need the Django framework. Then if you also want to work with PHP and you don't want to work with PHP direct, you can as well work with Laravel.
What if a person doesn't like PHP and Laravel, all those two things? Yeah, if you can one do without PHP and Laravel?
Definitely, of course, it's possible. We work with
Node. What would be alternative? That's the Python Django.
Django, yes, with Python. Then this thing with you can also use ASP.NET. You can use ASP.NET is from Microsoft. You can also use Node.js.
Node.js is from where? From where?
Good evening, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Node.js is still JavaScript, but it's a type of JavaScript that runs on the server.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. So see, but this front end now, you can connect. You can use once we finish this front end now. If you want to proceed further, I can just decide to do Django and Python. It's tempted to work.
Of course, sure, it will.
But your own administration, which one are they going to do for us? Is it which one are they going to take us if you want to proceed further to backend?
It depends. It depends on the agreement you have with the organization, sir.
No, which is the basic one they use now? At least company have their own principle or their own destiny.
Yeah, we basically have instructor for most programming languages. We have different instructors for them. So that is the thing.
And it varies because one.
Yes, sir.
It varies because basically, I'm not the only person from the class. Not others may decide to use the Java. Others may decide to use the Node.js. Others may decide to use the ASP. And the other one, person like decide to use a Django, Python. So that kind of thing. So, but if you align it to good, that you know which one that functionality that works well, you can now just decide which one is good for everyone.
Yes, the reality is that everything is good. Okay. So when it comes to like choosing this framework of a thing or choosing what language to use, so company will always have their recommendation. Why? Because it depends on area and what they are trying to achieve. So they want to look at any of the programming language that is more optimized for that purpose.
Okay.
That can give them exactly what they want in no time and less stress, like to develop. So something that is not going to give them more stress to work with. Okay. So different
for instance, like which one of them now? If you want to give an analysis, which one of them is more less very easy to adapt or to implement or to use?
It depends. It depends. That's why I say it depends on company specific. So different company will have their preferred, like, so in some company they will prefer Java, in some they will prefer Django, in some they will prefer PHP, Laravel, and so on like that.
Okay,
so it basically varies. Yeah.
It's like Python is deep. It's very deep. You can do a lot of things with Python.
Yes, Python is very wide. Django is the part that is dealing with web. So we also have, so we have other Python's area, like we have Python for AI, Python for machine learning, Python for artificial intelligence, and for data analytics, and many more like that.
All of Python for apps.
Yes, you can have Python for app. You see Python, in all cases you need to master the essential of Python. So once you have essential knowledge of Python, then you can go into any other thing. So.
Okay, you can navigate. Once you have the basic knowledge of Python, you can navigate to other frameworks.
Exactly. So you can navigate to any other part, but before you can actually dive into any other part, you need the essential knowledge, like fundamental knowledge of how Python operates.
Yeah, I would have liked to go into the Python finance, just that kind of. Once I get basic knowledge, but what we're doing doesn't have any similarity, any correlation with the Python finance.
For basically it has none. There's no relationship with Python finance and what you are doing. Now, the only area where this can be very useful is when you want to work with Python Web.
Okay.
Or any other programming language that is dealing with web. So they all need to produce HTML and CSS to the end user, because that is the only language that the browser understands.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter what language you use. They all need to produce HTML, CSS, and JavaScript at the end of the day.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you, sir, so much.
Okay, sir. So.
I want to just see how you progress the thing on food. We see how we're going to be doing like Bootstrap and we're going to do Bootstrap and the JavaScript and the React, isn't it?
That is why I say it depends on your agreement with.
No, it's part of the decision we'll have in our decision. Okay. I think I saw it when we started. Bootstrap, JavaScript, and React.
No problem. If it's part of what you have with them, of course, they will make provision for that.
It's part of what was in the program.
Okay, sir. Of course, they will make provision.
Thank you for all the questions.
You're welcome, sir. So, any question from what we did yesterday?
We need the video to work with. That's the only thing.
For the video.
We need the video, yes.
Okay. No problem.
Because you cannot do anything. You have to practice with the video.
With the video. Okay, sir. So today I actually plan on reviewing the class on Flex. That's basically because one of the students suggests, I don't know, maybe she's not around or something, that she never heard of Flex before.
Is it, what did we do yesterday? Is it Flex? I think what we did yesterday, is it not grid?
Grid, CSS grid.
Yes. It was great, we did.
Yes, we worked with CSS grid yesterday.
We'll see all of them. We're going to unfold. All of them going to be unfolded. So whatever. I have heard about that Flex thing, but it's one after the other because all of them will be very important to all of us. So,
yes.
So no need to rush. I don't know. Maybe they just want to be curious to know at least how to. I mean, that Flex thing is kind of, is it okay? Is that what you want to do for us today, or
yes, yes, that was exactly what I'm planning to put up to do, like talk on Flex.
Okay.
Right.
Whatever you decide. I mean, Rainy. I don't know that lady. Rainy.
Rani Roy.
Rani, is it a foreign name or what?
Yes, it is.
Wow. I've not heard that name before. Rani Roy. Welcome. I used to think it's a man's this, you know. I didn't even know. Oh, yes. I know about Emmanuel Okwego, Emmanuel Okwe, this thing, the other lady.
Yeah, that's because I don't get to talk so much. Most times I do the typing. I just send the question through typing.
So you've been hiding since. Thank God.
And she has been responding to me since.
But you're not Emanuela, you're different. You're not.
No, I'm not Emanuela.
But you guys seem to have the same voice. So.
Nah, I don't think so.
Maybe when she comes today, she talk. Maybe just like when she comes now, you just hide. We go and hide inside now. Nobody will hear your voice again. Welcome.
I always send my message. Whatever I want to say, I text it. I don't really talk that much. That's why you've not gotten to who I am.
Of course, I don't know. I'm just here because because that's emanated to because I've seen a picture of the lady, that kind of thing. So I didn't know. I didn't see pictures, so it wasn't really this. So I can't really. Then I know about the other one. Is it our son name? Some of that. There's a name. There's another name. This is Muslim name. So we're not many like that. I think so. It's very good for us. The class is not many, so it gives us the opportunity to do a lot of things for us.
Yeah.
So you're aspiring front-end developer, or I mean, how is it going on with the experience and everything?
Well, so far so good. It's a lot of improvement.
Yeah, we've been so fortunate, so blessed with the class. It's good. We're very happy. I'm very excited with the class. Sure that NEPA has not been consistent with my inside. NEPA, as I'm talking to you now, there's no light in my area. There's no light here now.
The Nigeria we find ourselves in.
And they just jack the price of fuel. At least one can just say, let me put generator. But at what cost now? It's so high. But I have to improvise. I want to get deeper. We have to look for how to make it work now. It gets more interesting.
Exactly.
I look forward to those ones I don't know. Maybe someone will also teach me. Some of those are really better.
We're all here to teach each other.
And because since we've been keeping quiet, I know they have gathered a lot of knowledge. It's true now.
What knowledge have I gathered that you haven't learned, like outside the class?
Those that don't talk, they have deep knowledge of information, so they don't make noise. They say, "Is there empty verses?" So it seems to be those empty verses that make a lot of noise. So I tend to. It's true now.
All right, as time goes on, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Oh, no problem. Well
Yeah,
done.
please, I'm instructor. You said you were going to introduce yourself today.
Yes, ma. So I'm Ori Mr. Ogunga. So
Okay.
I'm a web developer and I work with different computer institutes. So
Wow.
So previously I worked as a full-time instructor, but now I work as a part-time instructor. So
Okay.
I also freelance. So I work for different companies and different institutes like that. So no fixed locations. So
Okay.
I'm very good with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So like
Yes,
That's too
anything that
much
has
more.
to do with
of
the
front
internet,
end.
anything that has to do with the web,
Ma?
anything that has to do with the internet.
Yeah, that has to do with web majorly. So and outside the web, I also know about Excel very well.
Okay.
I'm also good in field of data. So I work with database very well. So
Is
data,
All
it
right.
data
That's
analysis
good.
or database?
You're welcome. We're glad to have
yes,
you as our
I have a data related experience.
Is it specifically Excel or including SQL and
Yes,
Power BI?
yes, I work with SQL Excel because majorly I started programming with Excel. That was
Explain, please. What do you mean when you start programming? Excel is a package now. Is it a
yes,
programming course?
it's not a programming course, but it has a lot of programming concepts. So and sincerely, I gather most of my initial knowledge from Excel, and Excel really gave me a good insight into programming because a lot of the concepts you see in programming, they're already there inbuilt into Excel.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That
So
means we have to dig into that Excel.
no, really. It's not really a mandatory thing here or a basic requirement. If you have a knowledge of Excel, then when you start working with programming language, because like when you work with HTML and CSS, basically they are scripting, they are scripts. Do you understand?
Yes.
And this script there's no any logic that is being inculcated into any of them. But when you started working with things like JavaScript, started working with things like PHP, then you experience programming. You experience exactly what we mean by programming, and that is by understanding what an instruction is to a computer. So you come across things like variables.
Variable conditionals.
Yeah, come across variables, you come across array, you come across function, logic. You have under
Boolean.
the logic, under the logic, you have the if statement, the else, the if, you have the switch, and under the loop, you have like for loop, while loop, do while loop. So and you have functions, then objects. So those are general terms when it comes to programming language because you basically find them in any programming language. You see them in all programming language.
Okay.
So they are general.
So you started with Excel. So what's the relationship? You said you got most of your programming language.
Yes, the idea of variable. I started with variable on Excel. On Excel, I understand data type. On Excel, I understand array. On Excel, I understand logic using if statements.
Okay.
On Excel, I understand functions.
Okay.
So you now see the relationship?
Yes, I do.
So that is it because we have variable. Variable in programming is just a container that stores data value. So, and this knowledge is exactly like what we practice when we are in primary school. Let x equals to 5. You see this in mathematics very well. It's just a scenario where X store value, that value, that the X is just a label. It holds a value. Then that value, so you can substitute X in an equation. Why? Because S holds a value. So this is the idea of variable.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. But is there any concatenation in the Excel?
Concatenation?
Yes.
Of course. You concatenate on Excel. You concatenate with the AND operator.
And operator.
Yes.
Yeah, that means joining two distinct together.
Exactly. Join two strings together. String is a term, is string that uses the term concatenate.
Concatenate, yes.
Yes, when you join two strings together. So Excel has a function. Also, you can use the AND operator on Excel that will do concatenation for you.
So, but what makes the Excel different from Power BI? Can't Excel do the same thing Power BI is doing? So why Power BI?
Excel cannot do the same thing that Power BI is doing because at different level, when you master table, you have different knowledge of table. Basically, when you work on Microsoft Word, you have table, but you notice the table is different from the one on Excel. When you work with Excel, the table on Excel is different from the one on Power BI because they use different concepts.
So, but does it mean that I cannot use Excel to do all my work? Should I can do it? Is it possible to do without pure Power BI?
Of course, it's possible, but there are some things you will be able to do with Power BI that Excel will not allow you to do because on Power BI is very strict when it comes to data type, the type of data that is stored under each column. But Excel does not have restriction on what you can store. I can just pick any cell on Excel and store anything. Excel is not going to, yes. So Excel is free. So, but if I have a column, a feed in Power BI, that is a column. Columns are referred to as a feed. So if I say this feed is going to take date, then you cannot just put text there. It's expecting a date from you. Yes. So that is the difference.
So what is the difference between a Power BI and Tableau?
Tableau, they are both used for visual. Tableau is exactly the same thing, like it gives you the same features as a Power BI.
But I can't see. I think when you talk about data science, predictive analysis, people prefer to use a Tableau. Why the preference over this thing? Why did they prefer Tableau?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Now, since Power BI and Tableau are used for the same purpose, so people will tend to go with what they understand better.
And that means, does it mean that Tableau is more clearer than the Power BI?
No, it depends on your experience on the subject matter. So if I know that, okay, I'm very good in Power BI, and whatever question you give to me, I'm able to solve it with Power BI, then there's no point for me to use Tableau. Then if I know Tableau is my preferred option, that okay, well, this thing I want to achieve, I can achieve it better with Tableau. Of course, I'll tell you Power BI, Tableau is the best because that is what I understand more. That is what I can use.
Okay. And the Power BI is owned by Microsoft.
Microsoft, exactly.
Whereas Tableau is owned by who?
Tableau is from another company, but they are not companies that are that popular like Microsoft.
Okay.
But they serve exactly the same goal. That is, they produce data visualization.
Okay.
So I think we need to start now because I am actually using all this time to at least wait for other.
Welcome, sir.
Other users.
Hey, we can start now. I mean, time has. We're waiting for the other people. They are not yet now. We can start. What do you think, Renny Roy?
Yes, we can start, please.
Okay.
So you can, I believe, I just share my screen now. I believe you can see the screen.
Yes.
So it's a basic, I have a blank page here. So let me zoom it out a little bit. So I want to start by putting together content, just like what we have yesterday. So I just create a basic template. So I'll give a title of flex. I want to have heading. So this heading is not necessary, but let's just put it. So working with flex box.
Please, is it possible for you to enlarge it a bit, because this thing is this thing.
Okay.
I think it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
What is happening here? Oh, I just joined though. I've been having a wahala with the network.
Hey, yeah. Welcome, man. We just started now.
Okay.
So in fact, we've not added any CSS. We just started creating our HTML structure.
Okay, I can see.
Okay. So
we've been waiting for you since. So
this my friend that's always making me to laugh.
yeah.
It's true. Welcome.
Okay.
I hope you can hear the differences in the voice now.
I'm still anyway, no problem. I don't know. Maybe when I see face, I can. It's slightly different, but when I see face, I can really sincerely lay the matter to rest.
Oh, okay.
Welcome.
So here I want to create a div with an ID of flex. So this will give me a div with an ID of flex. So that div will serve as a parent. Then we want to have some child items. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, just like, I think Miss Rani Roy, you are with me yesterday when I started the class. So remember,
Yes,
remember I said something about Emmet.
Yes.
And creating shortcut with Emmet. So if you still remember that I create some sections yesterday, so I want similar things today. So I want to create like 4 sections here. So each of these sections we have a class of box. Then we have an ID of box 1, box 2, box 3, because IDs are meant to be unique. So that is why I put the dollar here.
Okay.
Okay, so the dots stand for class, the hash stand for ID. Then the dollar stand for number. That will give me number, and it's going to be giving dynamic number 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on numbers of sections that will be created. So I will now have multiply by 4 because I want to create 4 of this section. Then each of this section will now have heading 3.
Please, so he said, please, can you that section box thing? I mean, please, is it possible for us to ruminate over it again? No, I'm sorry for it. Yesterday, I didn't start from the beginning.
Even me, I didn't start, but I'm grabbing it little.
Okay.
It's only Renoroy, so let's just do it.
Section. I believe everyone understands section. Section is not just like a div, though they have no specific way of displaying in HTML unless you style them. Do you understand? But basically, they are used for grouping content together, just like a div. That's what they are used for. So now I want to create 4 sections. Then I want each of these sections to have a class, and I also want them to have ID. Now, class can be shared. Class value can be shared. Do you understand? All sections can use the same class, but the ID are meant to be unique. They need to have different ID. Do you get it now?
Okay.
So we have a plugin.
Yes, we'll get it.
We have a plugin that is pre-installed inside of your Visual Studio. The name is called Emmet. So you can see that here from my screen. It's giving me this suggestion, Emmet abbreviation.
Okay.
So this element is inbuilt into your code editor. So it will understand this as it's going to expand the code for us. So it's just like a shortcut. That is why they refer to as abbreviation here. So I'll do .boss. This simply means it's going to give each of these sections a class of box. That's what the .boss means.
Okay.
The second part, I will have hash and box dollar. So the hash means I need an ID. So an ID of box, but to make sure the ID is unique, I will add a number. So I'll use $. So this will give me stuff like box 1, box 2, box 3. So let me just, I will still erase it, but let me just create it. I'll do times 3. Then if I hit tab now, you see exactly what is created for me. Can you see? This is
okay.
So it will expand.
Instead of writing it one by one.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that will save us a lot of time when we create. Because, you know, this is not exactly what we want to focus on. We focus more on the style, but we need content.
Yes.
You get it now.
Okay.
So
yes,
it's going to give me class of boss like this, but at the same time, I need ID and I want it to be unique. So it should not be the same value. So that's why it's going to give me box 1, box 2, box 3 in that order. I believe the concept is clear now.
Yes.
Okay, Control Z. So now I want to create 4 of this section. Then inside this section, I want to have a child element. So this child element is going to be heading 3. Then here, each of these heading 3 we have box 1, box 2, box 3, like that. Then I will also have plus a paragraph. Then this paragraph we have lorem inside of them. So this is the shortcuts that I want to create now.
Okay, lorem what? Like how many percent of the lorem?
Lorem, I don't, yes, if you just give me at random.
50 or okay. Okay.
If I hit tab now, so you see exactly what is creating for me. So
wow.
in the first area, I have section. So this one has a class of box, ID of box 1. Then I see the heading 3 with box 1. Then I see paragraph with lorem. So if I scroll down, I see the second area, section, class, box, ID, box 2.
Box 2. Okay.
H3 box 2. You can see that there. Then you see the paragraph there. So you see the third area, box 3. Then
instead of typing it one at one night.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So you can use this shortcut to generate content faster. That is the whole idea. I believe it's clear now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. So now this is our HTML. So we can basically just print it out. I want to right click on the file name. I'll click on reveal in File Explorer. So this will automatically open the folder where I have the file. Can you see this?
Where?
Okay, so I'll double click on the file. I'll double click on the file so it will open in my browser. So this will open inside of Google Chrome. So
hey, I thought we used to open it through Go Live.
Yes, but I don't have that extension installed now. We can use that. We can use that extension, but in this particular case now, we need to reload manually.
Okay.
Because I don't have it.
How did you do this Go Live? I don't understand this method. Can you do it again?
Okay, the Go Live. This is not Go Live. What I'm using now is
I know.
Okay.
What's he saying? How did you do the alternative of Go Live?
Okay. Yes. Oh yeah. Let me show you. Now here is my code editor. This is my code editor here.
Where is it?
So you go to this area where you have the name of your file name here. Flex.html. Yes. So you can just right click on it. Right click. So you see these options. So from this option, so you need to navigate to this particular option, reveal in File Explorer.
Okay.
So this will open the folder and point to exactly that file that we are working with. And currently this is the file, flex. So once it gives you the file, you can double click on it and this will automatically open in your browser. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yes.
So now let's add our CSS. So yesterday I used the inline, like the internal CSS. But today I want to work with external. This is just to recap, to refresh your brain on how possible ways that we can style our page. So I'll create a separate file. and this is going to store CSS. So I will give this a name of flex.css, then enter. I believe you understand this now. So the reason why I'm using flex.css is because this is a file that will contain just CSS instructions. There's not going to be any HTML.
This one you're doing now, is it not external? This one internal.
This is external, this is external, this is external.
Okay. I heard you said internal. Okay.
No, I said
external.
Yesterday.
We did external yesterday. Internal yesterday.
I worked with
you want to do external.
But today
okay,
I want to do external.
Okay.
So in here now, so I want to put some code. I use asterisk. Asterisk is a wildcard selector. It basically looks for everything we have on the page. So I want to do, this is what they refer to as CSS reset. I want to take away all the default style by the browser.
Yes.
So I want to have margin of 0. That will remove all the margin. Also, I want to have padding of 0. That will remove the padding. And I want to set the box sizing to border box. So this is a basic rule. So if I save this now, so this is not going to work with my page automatically. I need to create a link. The link we create a kind of relationship between them. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll go back to my HTML. Then right below the title, I want to add a link. Tab. So inside of the href attribute here, I will point to the address of my CSS. So in this case, I use /flex.css. Then I can save this file. Then I can switch back to my browser. So if I reload it now, so you see all the extra spacing are no more.
You're not seeing your browser.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
Okay, you are not seeing the browser now.
No,
we haven't haven't talked to it. I haven't switched to the browser.
He just said you he has switched to it now.
Okay, you can see it now.
No, we're yet to see it.
Okay, let me share. I think that's issue with sharing. So share. New share. Please hold on. So I will select it. So can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
So here is the browser. You can see all the default style are no more. So they have been taken off the screen. Like you would see, all those extra spacing are no more there. So let's go back to our code editor. So here in our code editor, so we want to add. So let's add some rules to indicate where we have the parent element. So if you look at the HTML, this parent div has an ID of flex. So I need to target that. So I'll do pound flex. So let's set a border 2 pixel dashed, and I want the color to be red dashed. So if I save this, so come back to my browser. So if I reload, you should see that dotted line. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. So
that section, the section that demarcates everything, not the bottom.
Exactly. So that is for the parent element. It's for the div that has an ID of flex. That is this div.
Okay.
Is a parent. So now, if you look at the content now, you notice they are currently they touch the line. All the content inside now, they are touching the line. I don't want them to touch the line. So I will set a padding. So I want to set a padding of 20 pixels. making sure there's a bit of space between the content and the line. Can you see that difference now?
Yes.
Okay, so, and also I want to target individual box. So each of the box has a class of box. So I'll use this class selector here. So I want to do dot box, and I will set a border for individual. So it's going to be 2 pixels. I want the style to be solid, and I want the color to be black. So also, I don't want them to touch their content. I will set a padding, and I want the padding to be 10 pixels. So I will save that, and I will switch back to the browser. So I will reload. Then we should be able to see the parent and the child.
Yes.
So each of these boxes that has a border of black, they are the child elements. Then this one that has this dotted line is the parent element.
That's the div container
Yes,
that contains all of them.
Exactly. The div container has the dotted line of red color. Excuse me. Then the individual section has a black solid line. So now once we have this, then we can start working with our flex bus. So next thing we need to do now is let's come to our code editor. Then we need to go back to the parent selector, so which is the hash flex. Then the first thing we have to do here is to change the display property. So I'll change the display to be flex. So you are using flex.
It's not clear.
You give a display
property. Your screen is not clear. It's
not clear like this.
It's having issue with the line. I mean, it's mixing up with the browser.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what I'm seeing. I don't know if others are seeing it too.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. It's having like this.
Okay.
This should be as a result of bad network.
I think that is the cause. Maybe in the network.
Maybe you need to refresh. Is it just to switch off and on? I don't know if possible to refresh.
Right.
Is it possible?
The screen is scattered.
It's scattered. It's not clear.
Okay.
We can't even do anything with it.
Let me cancel the share, then I will reshare. So let me reshare the screen.
Okay.
So how about this?
Yes, sir. It's good.
Okay.
It's better now.
Okay. So I want to test the other interface. So let me switch to the browser. Can you see the browser too?
Yes, we can see the browser, sir.
Okay. So let's go back to our code editor then. So the first thing we need to do here is to set a display property. So we set this display to be flex, and that is all we need. So once we give this a display of flex, if I save it, go back to my browser, if I reload, then you see exactly what happened.
Okay.
So basically, when you work with HTML elements, they will sit right on top of one another. They sit right on top of one another. But because this is now using a flex container, that is why you see them side by side. This is why you see them side by side. So that is the idea. So because we change the container now to flex, so it will assume the total available environment will be taken as 100%. Then it will count the number of child it has, then divide it by them. Do you understand how it's coming with this concept now?
Not really. Can you repeat that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
I can.
Yes, I said this flex container. Originally, before I changed the display to be flex, look at the display. I will save it, I comment that, come back here and reload. You see exactly what happened here. Everything sits right on top of one another.
Yeah.
So everything here sits right on top of one another.
Yeah.
That's basically because this is the basic structure. Every element by default are statically positioned. And the way they are positioned is by, you see them right on top of one another, because each of these sections, they are block level elements. And that is why you see them right on top. So they will not allow anything to stay by their sides. But this will be changed when you change the display to be flex. So, and that's exactly what happens. So if I uncomment the display property, if I save it, come back here, reload, immediately you see the elements side by side. So, and if you look at it, you realize that these elements are using the whole available space. That's basically because the browser the container takes every available space as 100%. Then to count the numbers of child it has. In this case now, there are 4. Then it divides it by 4. So it takes 100%, then divide it by 4. And that is why you see they are using the whole environment. So, and this will work for responsiveness, because if I resize the browser, you see that is always giving us 4 columns. I can see that. Even to small size, it's always giving us 4 columns. You get the idea now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, immediately you have this display of flex. This will open the door for you to use other properties in CSS. So the first property that is unlocked now is what we call flex direction. So with flex direction, by default, this has a value of role. Every item flex to a role, and that is why you see them side by side, because that is what the browser will do immediately. It turns the display to be a role, and that is why you see them side by side. Is that clear? Now, aside this role, you have other value. You have other value. What are the other value? You have column. If I have column, what will column does? Columns change it back to our default display. You see them right on top of one another. So what the column is doing is that, tell the parent, you are not displaying these as a row, but instead display them as a column. So it's just as if we don't have a flex. You understand? But reality is that the flex is currently active and is working. Now, how do you know the flex is active and is still working? I have access to use gap. So let me show you that. I can use gap, and that will specify the amount of space you have between them. So in this case, I'll go with 20 pixels to start with, save, come here, and I reload. And you can see that gap of 20 pixels. Do you understand it now? This is the differences. So this is only working now because I have display of flex. Imagine if I turn this display of flex off. If I save it, come back here, I reload, notice the gap is not there. So that's because the display is not currently working. But if I turn it on, it's working, then the gap will be given. I think you're able to see that the flex is still active. But the only thing that is changed now is the display. How it should display. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have other value. So
Yes,
we can also work with column, then reverse. So it means they will still sit right on top of one another, but in reverse order. So if I reload it here, you see the last bus now becomes the first bus. The first bus now becomes the last bus. This is column reverse. Also, we can have row reverse, roll and reverse. So this will give us the roll and the reverse order. So the last element becomes the first element becomes the last element. Do you get it now? Notice it's just like flipping the interface. Then what you have at the front is taken to the back. What you have in the back is taken to the front. So this is exactly how the flex direction works in reverse order. Is this concept clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Now, so let's look at arranging the items inside of these parents. Now, currently you see they are all using the total available space. The child uses every space. So the only space that is reserved is the gap. So aside the gap, every other space that we have is being used by the child element. This is basically because we never specify what size they should be. The reality is we can specify what size we want them to be. So I can go directly to the bus and I want to define a specific width for them. So I change the width here, width. I want the width to be 250 pixels each. So if I save this, come back here and reload, then you can see they are not using the total environment. If you look at the beginning here, you notice there's more space at the beginning here. This is due to the width that I'm declaring here. And you notice, because we are using row reverse, that is why we have the space at the beginning. But if I change this back to the default value of row, then you see the spacing will be at the edge here. Can you see it? So you see the spacing at the edge here. Now, yesterday we talked about some properties that are used for arranging child items within their parents. And one of the properties we discussed is called justified content. So we can also use that property here. So justified content, then it always has a value, a default value of flex start. If I save it, you see this element at the beginning, no change. Also, we can change this to flex end. This element will move towards the end, and you can see that now. We have flex end. You can change the flex end to center. Everything will move towards the center of the road. Also, you can use the space around. Then you see there are this space around. This time around, it will automatically, since I'm using space around and there are a lot of space, this will violate the gap. So the gap is not going to be active. Also, we can use space between. There will be more space in between. Then finally, you can use space evenly. Evenly. So if I save that, then you notice they have equal spacing from the beginning to the end. So, is this clear? Hello?
Can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Is this clear? Is this concept clear?
Yes.
So I believe you should understand what the justified content does. It's used to arrange child item on the horizontal plane. So that is on the x-axis. X. Whenever we are dealing with horizontal axis, we can refer to it as x-axis. So that is horizontal. So also, now, if we look at the parent element, the parent has an automatic height. So this height depends on his children. What is the content of the child element? So that determines the height of the parent. But what happens? I can manually increase the height of the parent by just setting mean height. So the minimum height I want now, I want 400 pixels. So if I save this, come back here and I reload, you realize that the height of the parent element increases. And the same thing happened to individual child. They also increase in height. Can you see that? So now this is where the vertical alignment comes into play. So vertical alignment makes use of aligned items. Then with these aligned items, so you have a default value of stretch. Each child item is being stretched, so they have the same height as their parent. That is why you see them using this height, because they are being stretched. But alternatively, we can set flex start. So when we set flex start, they will be arranged to be at the top. Okay, based on the content, now at the top of their parent. Can you see that? So they are all arranged to their content, that is to what content they have, and at the top area of their parent. Also, we can do flex end, in which they will be arranged towards the bottom area. So you can see them towards, now it's vertical on the y-axis. You see them up, down, then finally we can have them at the center. So we have center like this. So if I save that, you see them at the center of their parents. So just like what we have yesterday, so we can also have one specific element. So let's say I want to target box 2, for example. So I can do pound box 2. I'm using the ID now, box 2. So I want to set a background color on that box 2. I want the background color to be brown. Then also I want to use this align self. So then I can stretch this particular one, align self, stretch. If I save it, come here, reload, then you see that particular one has been stretched. Can you see?
Yes.
So this is how the flex works. Now, if you technically look at what is happening now, you realize that regardless of when we come to a smaller size, our box are being constrained. Okay, they are being constrained that they shrink down to a very small box. And you can see them like this. Then when I grow, the size are okay at a bigger size, but a smaller size, this might not be efficient. So we have one property called flex wrap. Flex wrap. Then how do we use this flex wrap? So we give this to the parents. So by default, it has a value flex, then wrap. So this has a value of no wrap by default, no wrap. And that's why you see each item of the flex are not wrapping. They are never wrapping. You can see them here. They don't wrap. But if you want them to wrap, then you need to change this to wrap. Save, come back here and reload. Now you notice it's giving me 4. If I come down, it's giving me 1. And if I go up, you see what I'm having. So this is as a result of having a fixed width. Notice if I come down, so you can see the behavior. So each time, remember, we've default the size of individual, like the wideness of the box to be 250 pixels. So, and that is a fixed value. That's why you can see their size here never goes beyond 250 pixels. Now, I have another options. There's another property called, so this will only work, that is the flex wrap, we only make difference if you have a width. If you don't have a width, then you see everything will just sit right on top of one another, regardless of what size you have. This is basically because I never have a specific width. Can you see that now? But if I have a width, then they will not sit right on top, but instead they will be adjusting depending on the, that is, they try to take as many 250 pixels as possible. Then when they see they can't take that, it will automatically fall to the next row. So this is exactly what happens. So that is why you see at the smaller size here, we have a single column. Then when we go up, we have 2 columns. See, when we go up, we have 2. At some point we have 3, and at a bigger size we have 4. Do you understand it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So now we have another property. That property can be given to individual elements. So here there are 3. You have first, you have the flex basis. Bases are used to define initial size. So remember, we already set the size here to be 250. Now I can override that by using my flex basis here. So under my flex basis, I want the initial size to be 350 pixels. Only for box 2. You can see I'm very specific. This time around, only for box 2. So if I save this, come back here, and I reload, you see what happened, that box 2 has a bigger size than the rest of the box. So if I come down, you can see it's always having a size that is bigger than the rest of them. This is basically because it has a flex basis. So the flex basis will define the initial size that the box should be. The initial size of the box. Also, you have another rule called flex dash grow. And what is this doing? This will specify, should this box grow or not? Now, this takes a numerical value. If I want it to be 1 times, like every other one now, is not going to grow, but this particular one will be bigger than them. So if I give this 1, I can reload it, and you notice is always, you can see now that is the box 2 has been expanded and is using the full size. That's because it has a grow. So if I extend this, so you can see it's always grow, and you can see it's becoming bigger. So it uses more space than any other box here. And regardless of what size you have, is always its own size is always bigger. That is due to this grow that we have. Then also we have the flex string. So flex string is used to define, is it going to shrink or not, like reduce in size. So here I can have 0. 0 means it's not going to be shrinking. So, but it will grow. So that is, once it hits this 350, the size will not go down. That's what it means. Once it hits the 350, the size will not go down. So that is what this string specifies. But if I want it to go down, so I can as well specify number value. So string twice the size of every other thing. So if I have another box here that we implement grow, so let's give another box. So I want to target box 4. Then I want to set a background color of orange, so we know we are getting that. Then this time around, I want to set the basis, flex basis. Okay, but this time around, I want to set 3 value, but all inside of a single rule, flex. So you can use flex. So flex will allow you to give all these values. The first value will be for the basis. So I will specify that to be 350 pixels. So the second value will be for the grow. And I want this to be twice. Then the third value will be for the string. Then this is going to string by 1, then terminate. So if I save this, then reload, then you can see this box now is growing just like, and you can see now that it's twice the size of every other box. So you see it here. It's twice the size of any other box here. And that's why you see box 4 is taking more space here. Then when I come down, so you can see that they always occupy all the available space. So you can use flex. So flex is a shortcut that gives you all these sides, the basis, the grow, as well as the string. So this is how you work with the flex container. So we refer to it as flexible container. These are flexible container. So now there's a better way of dealing with flexbox, and that is by using media query. So we'll talk about media query later. So which means at different sizes, I can specify what it should look like what the size should be. So, but for this class, so we are basically talking about flexbox. And this is how or what a flex container will look like. So, can you see? Do you have any questions? Are we together?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you have any question?
Go back to
Ma?
CSS.
Ma?
Can you go back to your CSS?
Okay, ma. So, here I am inside of the CSS.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Please, so the demarcation you did specifically, the color you gave was specifically for the box.
Yeah, the two box that I have special rule for.
Okay.
So I have a special rule for box 2, and I have a special rule for box 4. Now, these rules are not given to any other box. That's why I'm targeting them specifically.
Okay.
And also, I remember that when we were learning floats, we were using the float for horizontal alignment. So the flex tool also serve the same purpose.
Working with floats is a little bit different from flex. Why? Because if you see the way these flex work, so flex work with automatic, like it's automatic. It's not like float. Okay, so if you work with float here, you will see basic difference, because with float, I will be more specific with the size.
Okay.
I'll be more specific with the size. And again, there are two directions I can float to when I work with float. I have two directions, which is left and right.
Right. Okay.
So when I float, there will be issues. And what is the issue? Anytime you float a child item, the parent will have problem. So they refer to this problem as containing element. So because the parent, immediately you float the element will be removed from his parents. Then this parent will assume the child never exists.
Okay.
That's the problem with float.
Okay.
So do you have a practical class on float to demonstrate what the effect look like?
Please come again.
Do you have any practical class on float that demonstrates how it works?
Yes, we
yes.
So we did float. Yeah, we did float. Yes.
Okay. So when you float an element and the parent has a problem, how do you fix it?
We did not, for me, specifically,
we didn't look at that one.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, envisage.
Okay, when you have a float element and you float, you never encounter a problem, right?
No, yes, please.
Check.
Okay, so
only float to the left.
Okay, look at this first. If you have any challenge, let's discuss that. I quickly want to take you back to float. Then I want to create a simple float, and let's see. So what the problem is, how to solve. So let's see. Maybe when we create a float, maybe we run into problem or not.
Maybe we should create it in another session. Maybe another session. How about?
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, yes, sir. So we should talk about float in the next section, right?
No, I don't know about others. I mean, let others go this. I mean, only me cannot decide. Let others also contribute whatever they decide.
So we need the opinion of everyone. Sama.
Other problems when dealing with floats, then we should talk about it.
Huh?
So that we can get to see the different kinds of problems we can encounter.
Exactly. Exactly. So when you encounter a real world issues with float, you will know what the problem is, why do you have the problem, and how to solve it. That is the thing.
Yes, I also agree.
Okay, agree. Can we do? Is this for us to do it now? To do it now about that? No. See, hello. Can you hear me? Hello, excuse me, class. What I'm saying is this. Section, I mean, it's not that, and that's it. I mean, div, under div. What I'm saying, under div, instead of clearing this one, so that we can be seeing two of them at the same time. That's what I mean.
Yes.
I'm not saying guys should postpone it. Please, was my this clear? I said we can do it here so that we can see difference. We see flex, we see sex float at the same time. So we compare the two of them, see the difference. We can be able to really to compare two of them and know the difference, what the difference is. That's what I'm saying.
I think that initially that's what he suggested that he wants to do. So that we know whenever you are using float and maybe the parent div is maybe small and the small div in it is bigger. That means it doesn't appear. So he wanted to see the challenges that we have with float.
Exactly.
I think
that's what I'm
he
saying.
suggested.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, that's exactly that's what I align with. So that's what I align. But so that we can be seeing two of them at the same time, we'll be seen at the same on the same page. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
They will not. Yeah, we'll see the same page. Yes, sir.
So yes, so we see it, but we might not even cover the whole class today. If we have any challenges, we can still talk about it in the next class, but we can see how it's going to look like or what it's going to look like. Do you get it now?
Yes.
Okay. So if we need to do that, so let's just scroll down to this bottom area. Then I won't make it too complicated. I will add a horizontal rule. Then I want to have another div. Then I just want to give an ID of FT, short form for float. Then I'll just create two paragraphs with lorem. So if this, I have a div here with an ID of FT, then there are just two elements, one paragraph, two paragraphs. So it's not going to be too complicated. So down here, you should be able to see that here. So what I want to do first, I want to have a little bit of gap between every child of the body. So to do that, so I will do body greater than asterisk. So this is looking for every child element, direct child element that is any child that is directly inside of body. So my target here will be the div. Let me show you where that selector will be looking at. It will look at this at the one, it will look at this div, it will look at the horizontal row and the second div there. So that's what, so just these four items, that's what this selector will look for. So what do I want to do?
Okay, just came back. Okay.
So sorry, we have a little network issue.
Welcome back, sir.
Yes, sir. So can you see my screen now?
We're yet to see.
Not yet. Okay. Let me share. Let me reshare. I think that is. So share. So let me select this like this. So I just share the two screen now, sir.
Can see the VS Code chart.
Okay. What about the browser now? Can you see the browser now?
Yes, we can see the browser.
Okay. So now I just paste them apart. So this is exactly what I'm explaining. So I have a selector that is looking for all the elements that are directly inside of the body. What are these elements? There are 4 of them. 2 div, 1 horizontal rule, and 1 heading 1. They are directly inside of div. So that is what this selector is looking for. Body greater than asterisk. So what do I want to do with them? I want them to push themselves away. Margin bottom 10 pixels. So and the result here is that this heading 1, we push this div down by 10 pixels. This div, we push the horizontal rule down by 10 pixels. The horizontal rule, we push the other div down by 10 pixels. I believe that is clear.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's target that div of FT and let's start working. So here, so I want to create pound FT. So I want to set a border. So this time around, I want the border to be like 4 pixels. Then solid, and let's use purple. So save that. Then also I want to set a padding on the element. So the padding is going to be 20 pixels, making sure nothing is touching. So if I come back here, reload, so you can see this parent element with purple light is this is the area where we want to work with floats. You understand it now?
Yes.
So now, so let's locate the 2 paragraphs that are inside of the float. So I'll do pound FTP. So this is CSS selector. I'm looking for any paragraph that is within an element with an ID of FT. So I want to set a border on them. So this time around is going to be 2 pixels dashed, and I want the color to be red. So I will save this, then come back here, reload. So you can see the 2 paragraph now has a red border. So you see that inside of this place. Also, I don't want their content to touch the line, so I will set a padding of 10 pixels. So save, and now come back here and reload. So you can see the 2 elements now.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's start working with floats. So before we dive into concept of floats, okay, now if these elements are using full width, there's no way we can work with floats. Do you agree on that? Hello?
Not quite sure, sir. Not quite clear. It's not quite clear, sir.
Now, I want to work with floats. I want to work with floats. Okay, so but before I can float an element in HTML, they must be given a width. If they are in full width, I cannot float. So that's the first thing you should understand. So if they are in full screen like this, I cannot float them. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give them a width. And what will be the width? I want to give them 50%. That will be half of their parents. You now get it? Half of the width of their parents. So if I save it, come back here and reload. So you should see now that each of these box now take half of their parents. You can see it. Now, since they now take half of their parents, so let's select them one after the other. So I want to have another selector. So easiest way is I can come here to my HTML and give each paragraph an ID. Do you understand now? Because we want to target them. So let me give an ID. It makes it easier. ID, and I want to do P1. And here I want to give ID to the second paragraph as well. So here I want to say ID, and I'll give P2. Remember, IDs are meant to be unique. So inside of my CSS, So I can target the first paragraph now by doing pound P1. Then here, I want to work with floats. And where will I float this to? I want to float it to left. Now you can float to any direction of your choice, left or right. Are we together? So if I save this, come back here and I reload. You notice there's a little adjustment on the page. Okay. Now, I just float one element, not the two. Okay. Now, for you to see the problem, I'll float the second element, P2. Then I will use float. Then where do I want to float this to? I can float to the same direction. Either I float to left or right. You will have choice. Now I want to float to left. If I save this, come back here, reload. You now see the problem.
Okay.
You see immediately their parent is not containing them anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
It has no child. So the two are completely removed from the parent. So the parent has no child. So the only reason why you see the parent as a boss is all because of the padding that the parent has. So if I scroll up, you realize the parent has a padding up. This is the parent element, empty. It has a padding of 20 pixels. So if I take this padding away, let's save and let's come back here and reload. You can see the parent is just giving a line. So that box that you see is coming, you have it as a result of the padding. The parent is not containing them. You can see the two are floating outside of their parent. So this is a problem with floats. Do you now understand the problem?
Yeah.
So let me return the padding back. So how do we solve this problem? This is what they refer to as containing floats. So now there are different ways by which you can solve this. One, I can go back to my HTML. Then after the second paragraph, okay, this is the second paragraph now. After this second paragraph, I can decide to add a break tag. Then I want to use inline CSS. So style, then here I want to say clear, and I want to use both. If I save this, come back here and reload. Notice the parent is containing them once again. So this is one solution, but this solution is not suitable. Why? Because you end up injecting unnecessary code to your HTML. This line here, it makes no sense to anybody, like any other developer that is reading your code. Do you get it? So the only reason why we have it is just to clear the float. So if I take it out, then you see the parent is not containing them. You can see when we go back to our initial problem. So we have another solution. So another solution that we can use here is to use something called clearface, a clearface solution. Now, how does this clearface work? With clearface, we need to go to the parent element. Then we want to give a class of clearface. Now, you can type it out, clearface. Now, this class is not going to remove anything yet. It will only remove when we add some CSS rule. So the CSS rule now will be given to the clearface. Do you understand it now? So I'll go back to my CSS. Now, I'll scroll right to the top. Now, after this asterisk, I want to target the class dot clearface. Then I want to use colon before. These are what they refer to as pseudo. These are pseudo selectors in CSS. Before, comma, then I will do dots, clearface, and after. After, like this. After. So then I want to give some rules. So the first rule I need to give is to give content. Sorry, content. So if I add content, so what we content? Empty content. Then I want to change the display of that content, change the display to be table. Then after that, I will do dot clear fix after. Then I want to add the clear here, clear. Then I will give this both. Now, what this rule will do for you is that it will create empty content before that element and after that element. Then after the element, it will apply this clear of both. Then the end result is that the parent element will end up containing the floated elements. You see the result here?
Yes, we need to really ruminate over it more clearly so that we can really
yes. So if I reduce, so it will automatically come down because I'm working with percentage right now. Okay, this is problem number one that you can place with float. Now there's another problem that you will face with float. This problem number one that I just show you, I just identify problem number one for you. You can see the area of float and you see the area of flexbox. You notice with float now, we don't have a gap. But what happens if we need a gap in between these boxes? So if we need a gap, how can we get a gap in between these two elements now? So any solution to that? How can we have gap between the two boxes? So, but firstly, do you understand how a float works now? So whenever you use float in CSS, whenever you use float will affect its parent. The parent will have issue because by floating an element, it simply means you are removing the element from its parent.
Does it mean that whatever floats can do, flex can do better, or they do different thing, or
they are not new? They are new way, okay, and they are more flexible than the float. Floats are more rigid because there are some. The box model we have effect on float, and we actually can lead to problem. Box model, okay, we have effect on float, and we have a lot of problem with that. But you don't need to care for all these problems when you work with flexbox.
Okay.
The problem will not occur when you work with flexbox, but when you work with float, there are some problems. Now we don't have problem, and it looks as if everything is working fine, Abi. Now let me give you that problem. Problem number two. What is problem number two? Now we never have a problem until we now give the parent element a fixed width. That is problem number two. Originally, the parent element does not have a width. Do you understand? So it's automatic. But what happens when we give the parent a fixed width? Now, I set the width to be 1000 pixels. You know, this is a fixed width now. If I save it, come back here, and I reload. You notice, I don't have problem with these elements yet because I'm working with percentage. Okay, you can see them side by side. But what happens if I manually give them a size? So instead of me doing 50 pixels here, I want to give each individual box 500 pixels. Then you see the float is not working anymore. Do you understand it now? You see the float is not working. We still have float. But because I give a direct fixed width, it's not going to work. And if you look at my floats, I'm floating them to the same direction. That is why you see them on top of one another. Now, if I float the second one to right, you will still see it right on top, but this time around to the right side. And you notice there's a problem. Can you see the problem now? On the screen, you can see the problem. You notice it's not floating properly anymore. That is because this box now cannot contain the element. So why is it that it can't contain it? So that's why this box cannot come in. This box is supposed to be here, but because the amount of space that is remaining cannot contain the box, that is why it's going down. So how do you fix this problem? So because we have a clear fix, the parent is still containing them, even when they are not floating properly. Now, this problem is coming as a result of box model. The problem we have here is coming from box model. Okay, so and originally, okay, we're supposed to have problem before, but the reason why we don't have the initial problem, okay, even before I declare this, let me show you what I mean. Now, before I declare 500 pixels, normally if I go with 50%, you will see that everything will still be working fine. Okay, you can see everything is working fine now. Okay, now the only reason why this is working fine is because here at the top of the page, I added this box sizing of border box. Imagine if this rule is not here like this. If I save it, come back here and reload, you can see the problem. You see we run into a problem. So the box model, that box sizing, plays some rules. It's playing some rules here. Also, the border is playing a role. The padding is also playing a role. That is why we have this problem. So when we work with flex, when we work with float, you will run into lots of problems. And understanding how and where these problems are coming from are very, very key. So you know exactly. So if I change this back to border box, then you notice we don't have problem with percentage. It's working fine. But the default value of box sizing is content box, and that is why we are having problem. This is the default value, is content box. So you don't run into this problem until you started declaring width. That is when you started running into problem with content box. Do you get it now? You will not run into problem until you started declaring width. Now, immediately you declare width, okay, we don't have problem at the initial stage, but if I make this 500 pixels, so 500 pixels is supposed to be half of 1000. If you understand exactly what I'm doing here, the parent has width of 1000, then each of the paragraphs are entitled to 500, which should be half. This is exactly the 50%, if I'm right with mathematics. Are you there? So if
yes,
I'm right,
you're right.
it should be the 50%. But if I declare like this, I run into problem. So because the reality is, since we are giving this, every element, okay, we give 1000 pixels, okay, and we are using border box. This box, this parent element is not up to 1000 in the first instance. Why? Because since we say border box, it means it will cater for the border, it will also cater for the padding. So both sides will be deducted from the 1000, which means the total size that we have is not up to 1000. Let me give you the little mathematics. So we have padding in two areas. Now, the problem is with the wideness, left and right. We don't have problem with the height now. You understand it now? So the problem is coming as a result of left and right. So if we have 20 pixels on the left, we have 20 on the right. So when you add this together, this will give you 40 altogether. Do you understand it now? This will give you 40. Now, you also have, so you need to add this 40 to, you have 4 pixels on the left and 4 pixels on the right. That would be 8. So which means you have a total of 48. Now, this 48 must be deducted out. So you need to take, you have a total width of 1000. So you need to remove 48. So when you remove 48 from 1000, what will you get? So just, you say what, ma? So 1000 minus 48. So we have 952. So now, if I divide 952, so 952 divided by 2. 952 divided by 2. So that will give you 476. So that should be the actual size. Half of, so that should be 472. So if I give 472 to each of the paragraph, then you see it's coming in. You can see it coming in, okay? But this time around, we have a little bit of spacing. So, yes. So 76, sorry, it should be 76. That is, remember when we deduct 48, we have 952. So take that 952, since we want to have 2 child items, divide it by 2. Each will give you 476. So if you have 476, that should be the size of each bus, and you say they are coming back. You understand it now? You see them side by side. So it means the total available space, if the parent element is 1000, then you don't have up to 1000. So you cannot give them 500 pixels. Instead, individual bus is expected to take 476. So this is coming as a result of box sizing. That is, it's coming as, so that is basically because of the box model, how HTML treats or how CSS will treat a box. So, and all these things contribute to how big your box is. The border will add to the size of your box. Your padding will add to the size of your box. Your margin will add to the size of your box. So you should note that. So that is the second problem with float. Okay, and exactly when you work with fixed size, if you are working with relative size like percentages, you might not run into this problem. But when you work with fixed size, you want to be very specific about your size, and you want to position I elements side by side, you will run into this kind of problem. Do you understand it now? Is it clear?
Yes.
So you should see the difference between float and flexbox. So there are two different things. Float, flexbox, grid. So there are two different things. Any question?
Please, when are we having the video for the
Yes, we've talked about that earlier today. I already relay your message to the management. Then the response was like they will still make some adjustment to the video, like some editing before they can actually publish it for you. Okay, I think that's why it's taking a little bit, but I think they will try their best to make provision, like make it available as fast as possible.
okay.
Thank you, ma'am. So any other, so kindly make your own research and try work out all these things. So you can use any HTML elements, be it images or use actual text. So probably before the next class, I can get some resources together. So either we build them together or I build some and give you some as a project to go and work on. Do you understand? So they will give you some practical experience about working with stuff like this.
All right, this would be nice.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for today.
Yes, ma'am. So if there's any questions, any challenges, so you can forward them to the groups. So we'll try to get in touch. Thanks.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Good night.
Good night, sir.